Now, tensions between the United States and Venezuela have been escalating, and earlier this month, the U.S. imposed sanctions on some Venezuelan officials, even going so far as to declare Venezuela a national security threat. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has denounced the U.S. action as aggression against his country. He's launched a campaign to gather 10 million signatures, demanding that U.S. President Barack Obama revoke the sanctions order. We begin with this report from CCTV's Martin Markovits in Caracas.
There's a signature drive going on in Venezuela, but it's not an ordinary one. Thousands of Venezuelans are answering President Nicolas Maduro's call to petition U.S. President Barack Obama to repeal his executive order classifying Venezuela as a national security threat. 55-year-old Luis Araga not only signed the petition, but also enlisted in the Bolivarian militia, which has seen its ranks surge since tensions flared with the U.S.
If it's possible to do this at 90 years old, I will do it. This is my country. It's my homeland. It's the revolution. It's the nation. These are the things that are in play now. How can you live with yourself if you don't do everything possible to defend the country?
Maduro's hoping to rally massive public support after Washington levied sanctions on 7 high-level government officials accused of violating human rights during anti-government protests.
We are going to the streets to collect 10 million signatures for the repeal of Obama's imperial decree. Are you in agreement? Are you going to sign?
In the past week, demonstrations against the United States have erupted across Venezuela. They are protesting Obama's recent actions against the Maduro government.
The Venezuelan president says Caracas poses no threat to the U.S. and that Obama's declaration is an attempt to destabilize his socialist government. A number of Latin American countries have come to Maduro's defense.
The U.S. needs to understand once and for all that it cannot seduce or buy Cuba, just as it cannot intimidate Venezuela. Our unity is indestructible.
Some analysts say that Obama's recent move has been a godsend to Maduro. Faced with a low approval rating and a huge economic crisis, the recent spat has allowed him to mobilize his base ahead of key parliamentary elections.
Up to this point, it has been helping him because of the nationalistic rally that has been developing around him. The opposition has been quite cautious about this in order to be politically correct.
Despite the political tensions, commercial relations between the two countries have not been hurt. The U.S. is still Venezuela's biggest trading partner and largest buyer of its oil. Martin Markovits, CCTV, Caracas.
And Martin joins us now from Caracas. And Martin, how much support is Nicolas Maduro getting from Venezuelans in this confrontation with the United States?
Well, it seems that it has helped him a little. Before Maduro accused the U.S. of being behind a plot to overthrow him, the Venezuelan president was struggling. The country is suffering from widespread shortages. It has the second highest murder rate in the world and currently has 70% inflation. Also, many political observers felt that he did not have the charisma or leadership qualities that his predecessor and mentor, Hugo Chavez, had. But now with these recent problems with the U.S., he has been able to rally his base against what he calls a possible invasion by Washington. Just last week, he launched military exercises, and also he has held numerous anti-imperialist rallies. And Maduro also started a petition drive where he hopes to gather 10 million signatures denouncing President Obama's recent classification of Caracas as a national security threat. And it seems all of these things have helped his popularity. Before this occurred, most polls showed his approval rating dipping below 20%. But now, according to a new poll by a leading Venezuelan pollster, it has gone up to 25%, and it seems to be climbing.
And Martin, President Maduro also has a lot of critics in Venezuela. How are they responding to this?
Well, the opposition feels that Maduro's response to the U.S. is a deliberate tactic to deflect the public's attention away from the country's economic problems. Parliamentary elections are supposed to be held later this year, and until this crisis occurred, many felt that Maduro's party was actually going to lose many seats. The opposition blames the current economic crisis on Maduro mismanaging the economy and also the strict price and currency controls implemented by Hugo Chavez over a decade ago. But the opposition has said that instead of trying to reform the country's current economic problems and trying to impose reform the economy, Maduro has used the United States as a scapegoat. They point out that in the last 15 years, Maduro and Hugo Chavez accused the United States numerous times of trying to topple their governments. But the Maduro government says the threat from the U.S. is very real. They point out that the U.S. backed a short-lived coup in 2002 that briefly removed Chavez from power, and now they say Washington is waging an economic war that is causing shortages. So the public will blame Maduro for the current economic crisis.
Thanks, Martin. That's CCTV's Martin Markovits talking to us from Caracas.